It's really been almost 6 years. It's nearing Melee and Brawl's gap for the longest time in between Smash games. Most online presence around this game is either competitive adjacent, or showcasing modded stuff in some way. And with so much time passing, everything in this section of the menu has essentially been left to dust, including Ultimate's premier single player mode, World of Light. And with so much time having passed, making a video looking back on it seems like a fun idea, and with me having almost 100 hours across multiple save files, and playing through the game again to make this video, I feel like I'm decently qualified to talk about it, even if those hours are only about 3% of my total playtime. Qualified enough to talk on all its qualities and its flaws. But regardless of what I think of the actual mode itself, the build up to World of Light was amazing and filled with hype, with the initial cutscene showing us every character getting absolutely disintegrated on a molecular level in the final Smash Direct. Coolest shit ever. However, my favorite part to set build up was in the previous Smash Ultimate Direct, and is only available through a re-upload for some reason. When towards the end of the Direct, they gave us a look at the main menu, where the word Spirits was censored because they were saving everything up to reveal in the final Smash Direct 2 months later. Thankfully though, the blur was done in such a way that we got to know what was behind it not even an hour later after the Direct finished. Apparently, if you went frame by frame, you could just see that it said the word Spirits, leading to a lot of premature speculation, with some of it getting kind of close. Even now, if you go to the re-upload I mentioned, you can still look at it yourself when the video exits from the Smash section of the menu. Now, the actual reveal of World of Light. As I said, the initial cutscene was incredible. Alongside that though, we got a thorough look at the general gameplay of the mode as well, which essentially told us that it's mainly just event matches. Regular Smash Bros, but with a small twist, which is a far cry to the Subspace-esque sequel people, including myself, were wanting. Which definitely kept my hopes in check if anything, but with so much effort being put into that cutscene, how could I not remain excited? It really is a bunch of event matches. In fact, hundreds of them. Even though it doesn't sound that promising, it doesn't mean it's inherently bad. With the base game already containing so many characters, stages and items, along with all the other custom variables that the developers can implement for the battles, there are plenty of possibilities for them to create entertaining spirit battles. With most of the mode's time being spent playing them, it's of course going to be one of the main things I want to talk about, and if it was executed well or not. Alongside each spirit battle, you also have your own party with you consisting of spirits you have obtained. And considering each spirit battle equals one spirit you can use, there's a lot to mention about the customization options you can use throughout playing the game. Aside from that, there are also some other not as significant things I'll go over eventually. Now, this might be a hot take in 2024, but I think Smash Ultimate has pretty fun gameplay. I can just randomly start up a 1v1 match with a level 9 CPU or an 8-player FFA with items and think, yeah, I'm having a pretty fun time. DLC Pass 2 might have soured some of the love I have towards the game, but hey, none of these spirit battles in World of Light have any DLC characters in them, including spirit battles that literally are a DLC fighter, so that's already plus 12 points right there. But what I want to say is that just playing the game by itself, in my opinion at least, is already pretty fun. And so me going over the spirit battles is generally going over the conditions that are added on and how it adds to the battles. Most of these conditions are pretty simple. On top of having a character selection to match the spirit, they just make characters use a certain move more, start with an item, or change the size of a character, etc, etc. And in general, I think these simple changes make for a pretty fun gameplay loop, because like I said, in my opinion, Smash Ultimate has pretty fun gameplay. On the other hand, there are plenty of conditions that I think are shit. For example, stamina battles. Playing through World of Light has really made me detest stamina, because out of the 538 spirit battles in World of Light, 109 of them are stamina battles. Which, by the way, I counted in a not so efficient manner. But that probably doesn't sound that bad, as it's only about 1/5 of the battles, but for a game style that in my opinion at its core isn't really fun to play, it's just too many. Because Smash is, you know, about racking up percent and then dealing significant amounts of knockback. And stamina just kind of removes that. With a good amount of these stamina battles, there's also some other condition accompanying it that really makes some spirit battles frustrating. Plenty of stamina battles make the opponent have super armor, which just means you straight up can't deal any knockback, which makes for some of the most miserable spirits in the game. There's also an entire sub-area which consists of just Street Fighter spirits. which is really cool, other than the fact it's just all stamina, and all with reduced jump power, because, you know, it's like Streets. I actually do think it's a fun idea, it's just that there are already so many other stamina battles, and honestly the super armor might even be the bigger part of my annoyance with it. But I don't think stamina is inherently that bad, as I do like some of the stamina battles that just let you beat up opponents, which fall into the fun gameplay loop I was talking about earlier. There's also some pretty funny ones. Hey, it's Shedinja. He has 1 HP just like the games. How humorous. Go! Hey look, it's Dan Hibiki, that useless piece of shit from Streets. He keeps on taunting, how comedic. Go! Wow, it's Snorlax. It's just a huge Kinkei rule that stands still. I've gotta give that some credit. Victory! Of course, this isn't limited to just stamina battles. What the fuck? And of course, how could you forget Buzz Buzz? I also really like a lot of the spirit battles where you just get to move fast. The Tingle spirit battle looks like it lets you recreate Dawkus from Brawl. These sorts of conditions make the game more wacky, which always makes for an enjoyable time in my opinion. Sadly, there aren't that many of these, and it's also why I think spirit battles are sometimes really missed potential. One thing I thought would have made for good spirit battles is being able to fight assist trophies that can be killed on their own. I like to believe that they at least considered this at one point, because in the Metroid spirit battle it's coded to stick around permanently, even when some assist trophies just despawn and respawn. There's one spirit battle that sort of has this, which is the Imprisoned Spirit Battle, because the K rule just does nothing while you fight Girahim. But for the rest of these battles, which include assist trophies, you just kind of get ping-ponged. Fighting multiple opponents, which aren't just fodder in general, can get very irritating, as it sometimes leads to you just not getting to play the game. It makes for a good portion of some of the more difficult spirit battles. In contrast, some spirit battles actually give you a CPU ally alongside you, which there are only 3 of, with 2 of them being a liability and only 1 actually helping you out, which is really disappointing. But there are about 40 spirit battles where the floor becomes a hazard. Again, I counted. Other shitty effects include high winds, fog, and everything that decreases your movement. Of course, it's hard to say whether or not certain things should have been used more or less, as a part of spirit battles is that the conditions and opponents are supposed to mimic the PNG listed at the bottom. But if every character that has characters from a game with a health bar means it's a stamina battle, they could have at least given every character from F-Zero uncontrollable speed. But disregarding the ways battles are customized for a bit, World of Light made me realize that CPUs are really funny creatures. For example, look at this Lucario in the Xerneas Spirit Battle. Considering Xerneas is a Pokemon that spawns through Pokeballs, it's natural that the enemy is going to start with one. And look what this stupid fucking dog does. And that's why World of Light really made me appreciate CPUs for what they are, and why certain battles making them only use a certain move is a good thing. Because what are you doing? They're so funny, man. But these also cannot be the same CPUs that are constantly parrying and reacting to my position in a suspiciously small frame window. Sometimes it's like they're just doing this to fuck with you. And when I talked about not getting to play the game against multiple opponents, I meant that shit. They truly are just built different. Again, thank heavens there is no DLC in this. It may sound like I am complaining a lot, because I am, but for most spirit battles, which I don't really have anything to say about, have very minimal changes and mostly just let me play the game normally. Which I like, as I think World of Light is good, where you can go so much quickly through those types of battles, while occasionally saying that you understood what they're referencing. However, that alone isn't enough for me to continue playing through the mode. Thankfully, a lot of the gripes I have with spirit battles, there is a good way to circumvent these, and that is with throughout the entirety of World of Light, you get the option to carry spirits around with you in a party. With over 500 usable spirits and a maximum of 4 equipable slots, there are plenty of ways to get That is, of course, if we disregard all the spirits whose only function is to counter specific spirit battle conditions. And unfortunately, I also do think there's also some wasted potential when deciding the effects some spirits would have. Earlier I mentioned the Dingo Spirit battle and that I like the fact that it lets you move really fast and slippery. So perhaps when equipping him, you would get the slippery effect on you at all times. But instead you just become immune to sleeping. Lame. When equipping the Bob-omb Spirit, naturally you start the battle equipped with a Bob-omb. So using that logic on the Daybreak Spirit means an increase in shooting power. It's not like the CPUs would be mad about someone using the Daybreak instantly in a battle. Thankfully, there are also a good amount of spirits that do provide plenty to a battle. And with all of these customization options, my entire playthrough of World of Light can almost be summed up in one single clip. That's it, just me trying to find ways to cheese off the top with various characters. You've probably heard of drag downs before. Well, this is the opposite of that. So they are drag ups, I guess. Eventually, you have enough vertical movement upgrades you can just start doing this with a surprising amount of characters. If they have any multi-hit aerial that sends somewhat up, it probably works. Two other spirit effects that let you do cool stuff are the dash impact and insta drop effects, because they straight up add hitboxes to your regular movement. You can combo so many things out of your dash, it's in my opinion the most fun spirit effect in the game. Dash into any spike, dash into knee, dash into fair, into fair, into fair. And insta drop is just kinda funny to spam, even if it's very unfortunate that it doesn't spike. But another fun part in Spirits is absolutely boosting one of your stats as high as it can be, particularly with the use of dojos, which I remember completely overlooking in my first playthrough, and I think there's a lot of fun in seeing how far you can push a certain stat. Something I discovered while doing this is that with enough jump multipliers, your short hop goes higher than a full hop. Here me and the CPU are using the same spirit build, yet you can see I clearly go higher even though I'm short hopping. Characters with huge differences in their short hop and full hop are an exception to this, but you can still clearly see how short hops gain a bigger boost. And I don't know how or why this happens, but I suppose the only explanation is that jump multipliers affect short hops at a higher rate than full hops. Another weird fact about this is that these spirits don't affect Donkey Kong's full hops when he's using cargo throw, but do work when he's short hopping. Surprisingly, I can't seem to find any posts about this short hop and full hop difference, since I doubt I'm the first person to realize this. People have talked about the Donkey Kong fact though when going over spirit builds in some Reddit posts. Now, jump height of course isn't the only thing you can max out. Speed, for example, is also really fun to look at. Pretty cool. Of course, you can't do this in World of Light, nor would it really be practical even if you could. After all, with enough jump height, multi-hit aerials just do not work in the slightest. Point being is that if you experiment enough with spirits, you can have a lot of fun with it. Again, cargo throw being really funny with buffed stats, and even spirits that just simply give you items can be a lot of fun to use. I personally felt like a genius coming up with this Jigglypuff staff build, where I can abuse my low fall speed and the items increase power at longer ranges. And there's always a charm to just one-shotting every spirit with Little Mac or Ganondorf. Alongside dojos, you also have some other stuff, like these Explorer runes which I also never used, like most people probably. Like what do you mean 10 real life hours? Of course, you don't have access to all of this right away. As you gradually get more stuff to use, the more spirits you defeat and more options open up for you. So that by the time harder spirits start rolling around more often, you yourself are also unbelievably broken. There's also this tree where you unlock permanent buffs throughout World of Light. Of course, my eye was only focused on the extra jump so I could... But with this and the unlocking of new spirits opening up more options as you go on, it makes for a decently functioning progression system. Of course, you can also say fuck all of this and go kind of sucks. Because at a certain point, aka 1 hour into the game, you just start getting destroyed in 4 seconds that the roster is pretty much reduced to 3 characters, with you only fishing for cheese or just hoping that the CPUs off themselves. I did like 60% of an entire playthrough in the first 6 months that the game came out spiritless, before I realized that it's such a pointless and extremely anger-inducing way to play the game and that my time is much better spent in the online section of the game. Despite spirits taking up the majority of gameplay in World of Light, what really makes this adventure an adventure is the map, the bosses, and the story. As for the map, I really like it. It looks nice, has a lot of areas based on the characters of the roster, and has a surprising amount of interactivity to it. But it honestly feels like most of the creative effort went into the map more than anything else. There are so many neat sub-areas. You have a Donkey Kong Country area, a Pac-Man maze, Gourmet Race, Bowser's Fortress, a 2D Castlevania area. You also have this piece of shit. Ah crap, I went the wrong way. My favorite part is still though when you gather the Triforce in the World of Dark only for the final battle at the Master Sword to be against Cloud fucking Strife.
Pizza.
When talking about spirit battles, I left out the boss fights as they are obviously completely different than just fighting characters on the roster, and I don't really have much to say about them. The 6 main bosses that also appear in Classic mode are all really awesome. However, with these all being available in Classic mode, the only fights exclusive to Adventure mode are the Galeem boss fight, the Darkon boss fight, their simultaneous fight at the end, and the playable Master Hand section before it, which was completely out of left field and is in my opinion the best thing in the mode. The only problem being is that after playing it, you would have to do a complete other playthrough to do it again. Galeem and Darkon are also very cool fights, and it's still funny that they damage each other in their final boss together. Before the final boss though, there is also a platforming section, which honestly is kind of mediocre. You just jump up a couple of times, fight CPUs, then do that again with hardly anything hindering you. But at least you get to fight a boss rush after that. Okay, so the story. Everyone dies, you beat up Galeem, then that's apparently not the end of the game because Darkon shows up, so you beat him up, then you beat both of them up, and that's the story. It's definitely no subspace. But the hopes of anything close to subspace happening cutscene wise was honestly shut down right here. With this many characters in the game, there was just no shot of anything substantial happening in regards to the story. Gameplay wise, it also doesn't really live up to subspace in my opinion. Even with the peaks that it has in the boss fights, overall it can still definitely feel like a repetitive grind, which is one of the main complaints of it. And what it really boils down to is that spirits in general is a very much quantity over quality feature. After all, 100%ing World of Light doesn't even get you to half of all of the available spirits in the game. But a part of the appeal is supposed to be how many spirits there are though. And it definitely worked in that aspect. Admittedly, it is kind of cool to see more niche characters I like featured in a Smash game even in such a non-significant manner. But most of the time you're still fighting slightly gimmicky battles against non-unique enemies on non-unique stages, which really isn't all that appealing for some. Even with the options equipable spirits give you, it doesn't change the core gameplay. And if you do go through the entire game, there are definitely a number of spirits that can be considered frustrating or just not fun to fight. Personally though, even with all of its problems, I still enjoy the gameplay of World of Light, as it still just lets me play Smash, and the possible combinations of equipable spirits keep it fun enough for me to see it through to the end. Its problems don't affect me as much as it does some others, even if I do still prefer subspace over it. Overall, I still think it's a pretty fun time. I'm glad it exists, and I'm glad the developers managed to make an adventure mode for the game in spite of the already grand project that was making Smash Ultimate. Anyway, if I had to give World of Light a score, I think I'd give it like a 7. A 7 is good. Yeah. Thanks for watching.